Hello and welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. My name is Joris and today I'm going to tell you about the 4 dividend dates you should know about, and certainly when you are watching my YouTube channel, these 4 dates are really important. So the first date is the declaration date, and on that date the company states that it will issue a dividend. But it's a bit tricky because most of the time when they make their annual report, so when they made their annual reports for 2023 and they reported it in February or March, in that annual report they most of the time already announce which dividend they are going to pay out and more or less when they are going to pay it out. But the declaration date, the actual declaration date, that's the day when the board of directors will announce this in a statement. And most of the time this will happen at the general meeting. And that statement will then include the size of the dividend, the ex-dividend date, and also the payment date. And here you already have 2 other dates that I'm going to discuss later on, so the ex-dividend date and the payment date. And there is then only one date missing, and that's the record date. And that's actually always 1 day behind the ex-dividend date. And that's really important that you know that. So the ex-dividend date, that's the date when the stock of the company will start the trading day with the dividend already subtracted from its previous end price of the previous trading day. So it is completely normal that people say that dividends aren't free. They aren't free at all. They are subtracted from the price of the stock. And for me, the payout ratio is really important because when the payout ratio is above 100%, so the earnings per share don't cover the dividend, and certainly when it's above 60%, I don't really like the stocks at that moment because I want also price appreciation of the stock. I don't only want to receive dividends, I want to have a company that earns enough money that they can cover the dividend and give me cash back, and also make so that the company can grow and increase its value on the stock market as well. And then another important thing is the ex-dividend date. It's also the date that is always recorded on the SIX stock exchange. When you click there to see the dividend dates, it's always the ex-dividend date that is put there because it's the most important date to know. Because if you don't own the stock before that date, you won't get the dividend. And then you can say, yeah, but what with the pre and after hours trading in the US or something like that? Well, the trading day, it includes both the pre-market and the after-market hours. So the pre-market hours, when it's 3 hours before the market starts, so in America it's 9:30 that the market opens, but the 3 hours before or 3 hours and a half before, you can already start trading it when your broker allows it, and you buy it in that time, you won't be eligible. But if you buy it the day before in the after hours, so after 10 o'clock in the evening, and you then buy the stock, then you are eligible to the dividend. So the pre-market hours on the ex-dividend day, you are too late. Remember that. The record date, that's a thing that confuses a lot of people because that's the day after the ex-dividend date. That's when the company records all the shareholders which are entitled to the payout of the dividend. So it can be that people already sold on the ex-dividend date, They are eligible because they owned the stock the day before. They sold the stock on the ex-dividend date, for example at 12 o'clock at noon. They sold their stocks. Still, the next day, their broker will report their names to the company, and they will write down, I should pay out so many dividends to that broker because at that broker, that person had that amount of stocks of our company, so that broker needs to receive that amount of money to be able to pay out their client. So, a really important sentence. Usually, this is the trading day after the ex-dividend date. I put trading between parentheses, but actually it's always the trading day. It's not like they are going to record it on Saturday when the ex-dividend day is on Friday, but that's another thing, of course. That's just yeah, the way it is. In the weekend, nobody is working in the financial sector. At least not when you are working in a bank that is open on a Saturday. So when you are working on Saturday and you work in a bank, excuse me for that. The payment date then, that is when the dividend should hit your account. And I say should because it can be that your broker is a day or two later. It can even be more than 1 or 2 days because they themselves have to get the dividend in, and then they also have to distribute the dividend that they receive towards the person that are eligible to receive the dividend. And some brokers have a really difficult earnings model where they lend out your shares to third parties. So they really need to keep track of every stock that they actually should own so that they report it correctly and that they receive the correct money as well from the people that they lend their stocks towards. So that's really intricate, and that's a reason why some brokers are later in paying out than the actual pay date. For Swissquote, so far I haven't had it. At Swissquote you also have the option to select whether or not you want to have your stocks being lent out, yes or no. I didn't click at it because I don't want shorters to lend out my company shares to short the stocks that I own of that company to bring the price of the stock down so that they can buy it back cheaper and then give my stocks back to me, because I don't want to lose money because the price of my stocks go down because somebody is lending out my shares to somebody else. So okay, I will get a small fee if I do that, but it's I buy stocks because I believe in the company. I'm not going to then put on the the button that somebody else can trade against my stock. So, and then some examples. So you have here an example of Nestle, how they announce it on their website. So you have on the 18th of April you have the general meeting. On the 19th of April you have the last trading day with dividend entitlement. So I really like the fact that they put it like this. So then you have the weekend, and then the ex-dividend date is actually on Monday. So if you own the stock at the end of the trading day at the 19th of April, you will be entitled to receive the dividend, and the dividend will then be paid out on the 24th of April. So you have here, it's the declaration date, and as I said, it's already known before when which dividend it will be, when the ex-dividend will be, and the payment of the dividend will be, because it's already announced in the agenda points of the general meeting. And also the amount of the dividend is already announced probably in the annual report of the previous year that is then presented in February or March. But it's only when the board of directors make their official statement that you can say that it's the declaration date. Then you have the weekend, then you have the ex-dividend date on the 22nd, and the record date is then the 23rd, and that's why there are 2 days between the ex-dividend date and the payment of the dividend, because you still need the record date, and then you have the payment date. And for ETFs you have the same, so XYLF, it's XYLU on the London Stock Exchange, I think, and you have XYLP as well, because then it's traded at pound at the London Stock Exchange, but at the SIX Stock Exchange it's XYLF, and here you can see the ex-dividend date always reported, you have the record date reported, and you have the payable date. So on the 27th of March there is an announcement, there is an ex date as well, so in 2 days there is another dividend that's being detached from XYLF. So on the 7th and only 20 days later there is a next dividend, and it's 0.10 cents again, so really nice. But the declaration date, it's always a guess. You should read the documents on the website, and it can be a lot of pages, so struggling through it's a lot of work. You can also do a search find on the PDF, of course, then it goes faster. But they also announce it, so it's still announced, the dividend, and most of the time with the Global X ETFs, and it's a covered call ETF. So it's most of the time it's 4 days before the ex-dividend date. And the ex-dividend date, they are completely transparent, already depicted on the website. And it's, I think, 2 months. So in the beginning of November, you can already see the ex-dividend date for 2025. And with that being said, I hope that you clearly understand what is the declaration date, the ex-dividend date, the record date, and the payable date, and that you don't make the mistake of buying a stock on the ex-dividend date and expecting to be eligible to being paid out a dividend. So thank you for your attention. Please consider subscribing if you like this kind of content. Hit that like button as well. The notification bell, that's something you should decide upon, but subscribing is something that I would appreciate a lot. So thank you for watching, and see you on the next video of my YouTube channel. Bye.